just such an honor and a pleasure to come home, you know, reflecting on who I am, what's important to me, and more importantly, what is important to Cal State East Bay and how I can help, you know, enhance, embody, and move the institution forward to continue to do its wonderful work. I myself am a first-generation college graduate. Neither of my parents went to college. So many of our students, over 60% at Cal State East Bay, are also first-generation college students. And, you know, there's a big connection there. And my career has always been in public higher education with a focus on access and closing equity gaps and degree attainment, as Bob mentioned. So it's an honor to be able to come home and to serve this institution right now. So many of you know Cal State East Bay, but I will, you know, just give you a little bit of a summary of who we are right now, and a little bit about what I'm learning and directions that I think we might think about pursuing in the future, and what we're doing about reopening in the fall and what we're learning from this COVID period. So try to get through that in about 10 minutes so we might have time for questions. So Cal State East Bay is a regional comprehensive high access institution. We have students from all walks of life come to us. We welcome them. We are known for enhancing the economic mobility of our graduates. Their earning power, once they earn a degree from us, is tremendous from where they started. And that's something that we feel very strongly about. As I mentioned, about 60% of our students are first generation. About 50% of them are Pell eligible, which is a proxy for low income. And we cover the gamut in terms of diversity and different populations of students that we serve. Our programs, we are a comprehensive university, so we offer programs in many, many different areas: arts, humanities, social sciences. But I will say that the Cal State system, where I got my start, and Cal State East Bay in particular, have a focus on producing graduates that our local industry and workforce needs. So if you look at the programs that produce the most graduates, you will see business and economics, a lot of accountants, managers. We see a lot in healthcare. You know, nursing is a big in-demand field, but other areas of healthcare, engineering, we're big in STEM. So producing science grads who go to work in the biotech industry that is very well established in the San Francisco Bay Area. So we have a practice of keeping in close contact with employers and industries in the region. Through our alumni is one way, but also through advisory boards and other means to make sure that our curriculum, what we're producing in terms of our graduates, is relevant to the needs of employers. And fortunately, our faculty really embrace the role of improving social and economic mobility and the workforce mission of the university. So they are very open to hearing from industry partners in terms of how to make curriculum relevant. So I like to say the boundaries between our university, whether it be at the Hayward campus, the Concord campus, or our downtown Oakland Center, the boundaries are very permeable. You know, we're constantly in contact with a back and forth communication between our faculty, our university, and the employers that we serve. We also have a big mission for community service. So you will see our students, our faculty, our staff volunteering and working in any number of important nonprofit organizations and social service organizations within our region. That's important. We like to provide experiential, hands-on experience for our students. Many times that comes in the form of internships. And I know that we work with many of your companies in order to give you a way to recruit interns from our students. And we're always interested in more opportunities for students to have that real world experience before they become an employee, hopefully in one of your companies. The California State University system will soon release its economic impact study. So they've hired a firm to look throughout the state of California, and they do this on a regular basis, exactly how much economic impact these institutions have. And it will be broken down campus by campus. And I'll be happy to share it with the Leadership Council so you can see that impact. Some of it is direct expenditure, so salaries that we pay and things that we purchase, what our students spend when they come to our campuses in our local communities. But they also have an additional layer looking at what is the tax basis of our graduates, what kinds of tax revenues do they produce because of the jobs that they have obtained due to the degree that they acquired at Cal State East Bay. So it's a extensive economic impact study that I'm happy to share. And it really is impressive. It shows for every dollar that the state invests in our university, it is compounded in terms of the economic benefit to the state and the region. So let me shift a little bit to initial observations. I've been on the job just a tad over 2 months. I started on January 4th, and it feels very comfortable. I did spend good chunks of time during 2010-11 at Cal State East Bay when I was an American Council on Education fellow. So I grew up just 7 miles away from the Hayward campus. So I am familiar with the area. There is that comfort level. But even so, getting to know the campus at this point in time, what are people thinking? What are their concerns? What are their aspirations, their hopes and dreams for this university? And here's some of the directions that I think will go. I will be launching a more comprehensive, broad, and inclusive visioning initiative in fall of 2021 that we will also reach out to external partners in order to get your thoughts on this. But again, my preliminary thinking based on my listening and learning. So a big part, as Bob has pointed out, of Cal State East Bay will remain the focus on student success and degree attainment. We're part of the Cal State system. We have an initiative called Graduation Initiative 2025, kind of investment in increasing the number of people who complete degrees within the system. And we are seeing those numbers increase at Cal State East Bay. However, we must admit that we also recognize that we have persistent equity gaps. That is, there are certain subsegments of our student population, students of color, for example, who lag behind the general population in terms of degree attainment. So that's going to be a real focus for our university. It started on day one of my administration and will continue to be a focus in terms of where we're going to invest. Another thing that I notice about Cal State East Bay, and this conversation is a good example of that, is that notion of permeable boundaries. And it not only pertains to what we're doing here, this connection with industry and employers, and I mentioned our service work with nonprofits and service agencies, but it also pertains to the research that our faculty do. So faculty in the Cal State system are required to participate in significant scholarship and research as part of their jobs. They also teach a lot here. And our faculty tend to be drawn to research that solves real problems, that meets regional and state needs. So that's another example of how this university, through our faculty work, is connected with the outside world. So this notion of permeable boundaries and connections within and outside of the university is a theme that's emerging and something that I would like to build on even further. And one thing I have noticed at Cal State East Bay, wonderful university, and maybe some of you have heard this description of our university. It's a hidden gem. especially the Concord campus, right? For those of you who are out in Contra Costa County, it's the little engine that could. And while these are very positive labels for any university, I think we are at the point in time that this university can shine and can have a greater awareness and appreciation for the work that we do. So I'll be bringing some of my communication background to help the university get out there and toot its horn a little bit more about the great work that's happening at Cal State East Bay. And then finally, another observation is our size. Our size really is an advantage for us. So with about 14,000 students, we might grow a little bit more, and around 2,000 faculty and staff, we are big enough to have a critical mass to be able to do interesting and impactful things. But we aren't so big that it's difficult to turn on a dime. We have an agility and a flexibility. We've certainly shown that during this COVID-19 period. But even beyond, I think maintaining that innovative spirit and seeing what we can do in a flexible and agile way to continue to serve our students and the communities beyond our campuses is another theme. So I also want to emphasize that we'll be looking at the Concord campus. There's some great programs. We have a full nursing program out there. And I just visited the campus. I had visited it in 2010 and I went back just last week. And I am very interested in working with employers in the region to think about, okay, what are your needs and how might we bring more programs there closer to where people live and will work. And then, of course, our community college partners. A large number of students at Cal State East Bay are community college transfers. So smoothing those pathways, working more closely in concert with our partners is a big project that we're working on now, but we want to continue to grow that into the future. I'm sure there's other things we'll be working on, but those are kind of the early learning. So switching to the COVID period and what we expect to happen, Cal State East Bay is currently 96% remote class delivery. We have just a small number of courses with some face-to-face component. Think healthcare programs, nursing I mentioned, art, some engineering, some science. These are courses our students must complete in order to complete their degree. So we want to be sure that we provide that opportunity safely. And I want to thank our faculty and staff for figuring that out. And then thank the rest of the faculty and staff for figuring out how to pivot to remote delivery. And for our students for hanging in with us. During this time, our retention rates are up. Our graduation applications are up compared to last year. And we're seeing higher yield rates for fall for students who have applied to us. So our students are hanging in there with us, I'm happy to say. We're planning now for fall, and it's a little tricky. We all expect that by summer, our Dr. Fauci says by 4th of July, and I tend to listen to Dr. Fauci, things will be much more open. But right now we have to plan based on the information we have. And also people's feelings now as our faculty are deciding, okay, what courses are they going to teach in what format? We will probably land on about 50-50 for fall, and that's okay. I think about, say, parents, a young assistant professor who's a parent of young children who are, in K-12 and they're supervising their education and they're not sure what's going to happen with their school district in the fall. They need to hedge their bets in terms of managing their job and their life and may prefer to teach in an online or remote format. So I think the 50-50 we won't have forever, but that will work for fall. But I know what we'll be able to do in the fall is bring more life onto our campus in terms of activities, event, co-curricular education, athletics, wellness programs, performances. We'll have much more life on our campus come fall. And then finally, what have we learned during this COVID period? Well, we just completed a survey that I did of our faculty, staff, and students, what I call the post-COVID opportunity scan. What are the silver linings? What are the things that we were forced to do that we actually find work really well and we want to continue to do into the future? And so I was really gratified by the response. and great ideas. Number one was, keep more flexible working arrangements, provide more flexible teaching modalities, provide student services in expanded hours and things like that. And I'm really happy that we're taking what could be considered a negative and really learning from it and turning it from into a positive. And so I think that encapsulates the spirit of this university that I have been so fortunate to be able to join and take into the next era. So thank you all for the opportunity to do this little overview of Cal State East Bay. I sincerely look forward to your partnership and to further conversations into how we can continue our mission of workforce development or providing that educated workforce that you need for your industries and organizations. So thank you. That concludes my formal comments.
Great. Appreciate it very much. Thank you. If anybody has any questions, please raise your digital hand and we'll call on you. In the meantime, President Sandeen, I have a question relative to education delivery. Obviously, state support is waning at times, and you have a very robust extended education program. You yourself have extensive background in that arena. Do you see any interesting things in light of COVID where extended education could provide some unique opportunities for upskilling and reskilling workforce?
Yes, Bob, absolutely. There are many opportunities. For one, more and more people have discovered that they can learn effectively in an online format. So I think that that opens up the opportunity to provide more degree programs. I saw some data recently where the jobs that are going to be growing in the future in California, many of them are going to require a master's degree. So that tells me that we need to do an analysis of what are those industries and what are those professional master's degrees that we should start to offer that will prepare people for those jobs of the future. And then also you mentioned extension, which gives us a little bit more flexibility in what kinds of programs we can develop, more non-degree certificate programs, working directly on a contract basis with employers to do professional development, targeted professional development programs that they want their employees to have. And we did something interesting in Alaska before I got here. When we saw people losing jobs due to the COVID pandemic, I also recognized that there were some jobs where demand was growing. So I asked our faculty, can we think about building some short certificate programs that are comprised of existing 4-credit courses that we can quickly put together, validated by employers, and start offering to retool people quickly who are unemployed to be able to jump back into the workforce. So they did it. They're called fast track career certificates. And some examples were contact tracer. That was obvious. There was a lot of demand for that at the beginning of the pandemic, and especially IT support specialists. We're all using technology more than ever before. Infant and toddler childcare was also an area in great demand. Logistics and operations in terms of managing getting goods out where they needed to be. So again, that was a good example of that, thinking out of the box and reacting quickly in an agile way, specifically to meet workforce needs. So I believe we definitely can do something similar here at Cal State East Bay. Thanks.
Bob, if I may, pleasure to meet
my Wi-Fi. Go ahead.
Sorry, I can't see if you're commenting or not. Sorry about that. Pleasure to meet you, President Sandeen. Welcome, and thank you for the introduction. By way of background, my day job, although I'm a member of the board of the East Bay Leadership Council, my day job is with JP Morgan Private Bank and working with the high net worth community. And I'm very pleased to report all your comments align with our thoughts around the student body at at East Bay Leadership Council and the opportunity for them to serve the Bay Area community, right? The various industries that exist here. And we know that they are local. They have family connections here, which many of the other institutions here, their student body may not necessarily have that same sort of a profile and the family connection and the history they have here locally. We actually have been working very closely with Drs. Inch and Dr. Mangold, and I'm very pleased to report that tomorrow we are scheduled to be on campus for our first ever analyst recruiting program at with the business school. And I was blown away yesterday when I learned that we have 50 as of yesterday who have signed up to learn more about us, and that registration is open through the end of the day. So I suspect that 50 will increase. And very pleased to have the opportunity, and the enthusiasm is overwhelming, and we couldn't be more pleased with that. So look forward to working with you and the rest of the folks over at Cal State East Bay. We think this is going to be a great partnership for us, and it means for us to continue to serve the Bay Area, not just the East Bay, in a much broader way. So I'm very excited about the opportunity.
That is wonderful news. I am so happy that it's turned out that way, and very enthusiastic, optimistic about the outcomes. Thank you.
Super. Okay. Well, that looks like we've completed this part of the agenda. President Sandeen, thank you so much for your participation today and bringing your staff in with you. We look forward to a long-lasting relationship between you and the East Bay Leadership Council.
Thank you, and you can count on that. Appreciate the opportunity.
Great. All right. Well, it's my pleasure now to introduce Chancellor from the Contra Costa Community College District, Dr. Brian Reese. Dr. Reese was appointed in his position December of 2020. So he's brand new with us. And to remind you all that the district serves 51,000 students in 3 colleges of Contra Costa, Diablo Valley, and Los Medanos, and 2 centers in Brentwood and San Ramon. The district was one of the largest multi-college in Virginia with 36,000 employees, 3,600 employees, serving over 1 million residents. Chancellor Reece has been working in higher education for over 30 years, with 15 years of academic and private sector leadership experience. Chancellor Reece has a bachelor's degree and master's degree and doctorate in political science from the University of Southern California. And we're pleased to have you here with us today as a Diablo Valley College alum. I'm particularly pleased to introduce you today. Thank you, Dr. Reece.
Yes, well, thank you very much, Bob. I really appreciate that. And Kathy, I appreciate that you've only been here 2 months. I have officially been here twice as long as you. I've been here 4 months. So if you want to know the way around, I'll let you. No, we're both babies in our respective institutions. Although I was not raised in the area like Kathy was. So thank you all for having me here. As Bob mentioned, we have 3 colleges and 5 campuses and a district office located in historic downtown Martinez. Contra Costa Community College District is run by a locally elected board of trustees, five members elected to the board. They serve 4-year terms and they rotate like many of the city councils do on a two-year basis. You know, the thing that I am most focused on, and I think the leadership at Contra Costa Community College District is most focused on, is something that Kathy talked about, and that is social justice. We primarily serve, not exclusively, but primarily we serve students from historically underserved communities. It's about 80 to 85% of our students. They come from communities of color. They come from families with recent immigrant histories. They come from families who are low income or if not in poverty. And many of our students come from first generation families where no one in their entire family has gone to college. So they're surrounded by family members that love them, but they're not surrounded by family members that would have lots of academic capital and lots of academic agency, and they're able to help them through that process. So this is, like I said, not exclusively who we serve, but this is primarily who we serve. We have a number of initiatives that we're working on right now, because as you all know, I'm sure you all know this data, it's national data related to the pandemic. Communities who have historically been underserved are the ones that are being hit hardest by the pandemic. They're experiencing the greatest economic loss, they're experiencing the greatest suffering on the public health side, and they're experiencing the greatest amount of problems on the educational side also. So we're really trying to think right now about our institution as poised to help recover from the pandemic, come back from the pandemic. As Kathy mentioned, we are spending a fair amount of time and energy thinking about how we come back in the fall. We are opening back up in the fall. Right now, our schedule is around 60% for the fall. Scheduled about 60% will be online and 40% will be on campus. But we've built a significant amount of flexibility in that. So this schedule will be changing in the late spring and the summer to accommodate new public health. If we move from red to orange, as we move in the direction that Dr. Fauci again is talking about, I suspect we'll be moving more towards that 50-50, or maybe even a little more that Kathy was talking about as we get into the fall. But this is really important that we get back on campus, get our students back on campus. At one of our college campuses, we've had new student enrollment decline by 33%. Over 30%. And, a lot of students are coming from historically underserved communities. They've lost jobs. They have family responsibilities. They've got maybe sick people in their families. They've got those types of issues pressing on their decisions to go to college. They got those types of pressures pressing on them about when they're trying to study and things like this. So it's had a tremendous impact on them. So we're working on opening back up. Another thing that we're really concentrating on is enrollment. We are launching a 3-year enrollment recovery campaign to build enrollment up over the next 3 years. Our goal is to move from currently serving a little over 50,000 students. We need to add about 15,000 students to that equation to get back more to our kind of historic penetration rate in the county. This is something that's not only important for the college going rates in the area and things like that, but it's also really important for the fiscal health of our institution. A third area where we're really focused on is the equity gap. All 3 colleges have done very comprehensive studies on who's having a solid academic experience and who's not having the same kind of academic experience. And the 4 groups in particular, or maybe there's a 5th group I could add to that are really struggling. African-American students, Latinx students, Native American students, API students, especially Southeast Asian and Native American students, and then any student that falls in a poverty category. These 5 groups are not having the same kind of experience as people who don't look like them in our institutions. This is not exclusive to 4CD. It's something that you find as a national trend, especially across community colleges and large state universities. So we're really focused on this. And a 4th area, so we're focused on COVID, we're focused on enrollment, we're focused on the equity gap. A 4th area we're spending a lot of time is reaching out to partners, reaching out to people like you. The scope and the depth and really the aspirational quality of our strategic plan outstrips our resources. We don't have enough people, we don't have enough money, we don't have enough facilities to get everything done that we're hoping to get done. And we need partners. We need partners to collaborate on projects. This is why I'm so excited you invited me to talk to this, because it gives me a chance to talk to really important people in the community. Let me give you one example of how a partnership that we have emerging. with East Bay Leadership Council and the county, I think is starting to take shape, and how it could have an impact on our region. And then I'll end it after this example and open it up to any questions you might have. In our county, the latest data I saw at the Contra Costa County website, we have 43,000, a little over 43,000 unemployed people in our county. Back in February, before the pandemic, that was more than half that size. So over half of the people of that 43,000 have emerged unemployed in the last year. If you add to that underemployed, the number goes up significantly. One of our goals, and this is connected to enrollment, this is connected to opening back up, this is connected to the closing the equity gap, this is connected to partnerships, connected to all four of those things. One of our goals is to reach out to every single one of the 43,000 unemployed individuals. Every single one. We're going to send them a text, an email, a phone call. I'm going to show up to their house and knock on their door if we can't get a hold of them. And we need to reach out to all of them and invite them into one of our programs at the three colleges. We have a number of different career technical programs that they can complete in a certificate model. We have technical degree programs they can complete as AA degrees. And if they would like to transfer over to Kathy and her folks at East Bay, they can move into a transfer program, and all of our programs matriculate straight over into the CSUs and into the UCs. So this is one of our goals, but we can't do this by ourselves. So we've already approached the county. We've asked the county if they can help us out with this, specifically with a data share agreement. We want them literally to give us the name and the contact information of all 43,000 so we can start through this process of connecting with them and talking to them and moving them through this onboarding process, which is a fairly complicated process. So we need to build a relationship with each person who's interested in pursuing this. We've spoken now with 3 supervisors and the county staff, and everybody is very eager to support this idea. We've spoken with 6 state assembly or Senate individuals from our area about these interagency collaborations. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of excitement about this. The first time Kristen and I met, we talked about this, and you know how Kristen is. She's like, let's go, let's do it right away. So she's got that kind of crazy energy. And so about, I don't know, a week later, I said, Kristen, we are having a problem with some legislation that's this HEREF money that's coming through from the Biden administration. We need to tweak it with a little bit of language. And she and her staff got a hold of me right away and started working on that. And we had some others work on it, and we got some modest language change in the bill that came out that gives us a little bit more flexibility on outreach, a little bit more flexibility on how long we can spend the money to build something along these lines. And this idea, this one example, obviously needs partnership with the business community. Look, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get a hold of people who, a lot of them, not all of them, but most of them have old economy skills. That's how they lost their jobs. We need to retrain them to new economy skills and move them into the new economy. And there's no better example of the new economy than the economy in the Bay Area. So I think this is something where everybody wins. Every single unemployed person does not want to be unemployed. The county wants them to be employed. We want them to be employed. You want them to be employed. It's an easy idea to embrace. So we're doing similar things with veterans and emancipated foster youth and formerly incarcerated students and all high school students. All of these can be better served if we build interagency partnerships with the unified school districts and the county superintendent of schools and the EDD at the state level. All of us are trying to do the same thing. We're just not really sharing information and collaborating in our services together. So this is a direction that we're moving, I'd say very rapidly. I think our leadership has a sense of urgency about how important this is. We don't need to talk about it for 18 months. We need to start doing things in this space. We of course need to to build it carefully and make sure it's implemented well, but we need to start moving on these things soon, and we are. So I'm really excited, super excited to be with this district. It's a wonderful group of people. The social intelligence level with the leadership at the 3 colleges in the district is very high. They know how to stay connected and close to each other, and they trust each other even when things are difficult. We've had a number of difficult meetings around hard issues, and people are staying together. So I really am excited about the work that we're going to be doing, and excited about the partnership with East Bay Leadership Council moving forward. So I'll leave it at that and be happy to address any questions you might have.
Great. Thanks so much, Chancellor Reece. It's great to see you here today with your colleague from East Bay. Questions anybody have for, yes, Lindy, go ahead.
I was actually clapping, but I'm happy to ask a question. Thank you so much for being here, Chancellor Reece. I noticed that there's a lot of conversation happening, both what you're saying and what Dr. Sandeen was saying about flexibility, and just really taking some of the positives that have come from this experience and bringing those forward. So I'm just curious if that's something you all are exploring as well, and if you think you'll see a lot more online programs or hybrid programs kind of develop as a result of this.
Yes. Let me give you one really big example, and I wish I could say this was my idea. This is President Andy Lee's idea from our trustees, and he's right on the money about this. You know, because of the pandemic, we have all learned, all of us in higher ed and K through 12. My wife teaches 5th grade, so she's right in the middle of this also. We've all learned how to pivot and offer our instruction in a different way. Offer our instruction through a mediated way, Zoom, online, and then of course we've always been really good at offering it on campus. Well, with this new kind of approach, we're able now to, I think we're going to be able to offer more college classes at our high schools in this format than we have in the past. And when we're working on that specifically, it's not an idea, it's MOUs that we're putting in place with unified school districts. In the past, in order for us to offer college courses at high schools, we would have a professor go to the high school, and then the high school would have to cobble together enough people to make it affordable. So they'd have to get at least 30 people in a course. If we can offer these courses now through Zoom technology and what's the word I'm looking for, through some kind of combination of Zoom and maybe a little bit of live, now we can offer it throughout the county at all 28 high schools, and you can have 2 from this high school and 1 from this high school and 3 from that high school and 10 from that high school. And now the whole thing changes. All the opportunities change. We can kind of think of every high school as a middle college program if we want to, and really start leaning into this and expanding it. So that's just one example of how I think we're going to come out of this pandemic stronger than we were in the past. I'm not saying we're going to move everything like that. I mean, lots of our students need to get on campus and build relationships with us. That's well over 50% of that, I think, is needed. But there are these other opportunities, Lindy, that you're talking about that are really good.
Thank you for that. EBLC's been really supportive of dual enrollment, and it's very exciting to think about how being able to make those digital are really going to expand those opportunities.
Right.
You know, Lindy, I'm wondering, for us, our policy agenda, because we're in this new format where we have education all as part of this force, I think the policy agenda, particularly with the chancellor and president, and maybe have them take a look at it as to where we need to adjust, pivot, make some amendments to better serve some of their particular needs. I think that as we look at student success, which both the chancellor and president are 100% unified on, there's going to be some policy issues that we're going to be facing that need their attention. So if we can take an action to do that, we've got 33 people or 31 people on the call today. This is a great time to be talking about the role play in education And
So Bob, this is
I'm
Kristen.
gratified to see.
I'm just going to jump in. I think that you were, unfortunately, with your unstable internet, you kind of garbled, like sort of buried the action, let me repeat what I think you said, which was to make sure that we're running our agenda by both President Sandeen and Chancellor Reece. In terms of making sure that we get their best thinking. I certainly want to make sure that we're pointing that out to everybody. So assuming I got that right, we'll make sure that we make that happen. I did want to just ask a follow-up question. You did talk about, 33% down, enrollment being down by a third at one of your campuses. Is that at Contra Costa College? I've heard that their enrollment is particularly down.
That's correct.
And
yeah.
So is there anything, I guess with my crazy energy that you referenced, I certainly want to offer us, there have been these eras where enrollment is down, which is problematic for a lot of reasons. And so certainly want to just offer our enthusiasm and our communication platforms. And I do think that your goal of increasing dual enrollment, is a really good one. And I think that has a lot of potential, and the studies are really clear about the benefits to student success of graduating high school with at least 6 credits of 6 college credits. So I did want to just, if you want to say a little bit more about what you think is going on at Contra Costa College and maybe how we can be helpful. And then I want to bring our fantastic dean from St. Mary's College, Dean of Liberal Studies, Sheila Hassel-Hughes has her hand up. So you get the floor next.
Enrollment across the entire country is down. There's almost a linear correlation between underserved communities and enrollment. So the higher the percentage of students you have that are from historically underserved communities, the harder you've been hit. So it reflects that way in our district. The one college that's most down is Contra Costa, that has the highest percentage of low-income families, students of color. Then it's Los Medanos, then it's DVC, and the San Ramon campus is up. So you can kind of follow the SES, and you can see the enrollment. I'm confident we're going to reverse that and fill that gap and exceed it with an aggressive campaign where we're reaching out to high school students, high school graduates. I want to do a data share agreement with all our high schools so that graduates are just automatically or nearly automatically enrolled. You know how easy it is to go from middle school to high school when you're there. You just walk over to your high school and you're enrolled. It should be that easy to go from high school to college. Just come over to community college. We know you already. You're in. Everyone's going to get in anyway. It's open enrollment. I don't know why we make it so complicated. So for at least our high school graduates in the county, we need to share data and make it super easy for them to go. And if they choose to go to some other college, God bless them. That's great. The point is, make it easy for everybody to go into college. There's no point in making it complicated. So that's it. And then I think all those targeted segments that I mentioned, unemployed, underemployed, emancipated foster youth, formerly incarcerated, veterans, we know who those people are through the county. We can contact them individually and start those recruitment campaigns with segmented targeting. And I think we'll be able to fill the funnel up and bring them all the way through to graduation. So I think that strategy is going to work.
Great. Thank you. I'm going to pass it to you. You have your hand up. Sheila, take it away.
Thanks. Hi. Thank you both so much for your remarks. It's lovely to meet you. I'm Sheila. I'm the Dean of the School of Liberal Arts at St. Mary's. And it's just really helpful and interesting to hear the priorities, the current strategies and thinking at your institutions, our neighbors and friends. Yeah. One question, which is maybe a little bit operational, but also kind of cultural. And it's on my mind in part because I just came out of a conversation about this at my own institution, which has us, we share some commitment to social justice and serving students of high need. But we also have our own sort of particular culture and mission. And I'm thinking, President Sandeen, about your remark specifically about the 50-50 anticipation for fall and recognizing that faculty, especially with school-age children, are kind of hedging their bets, and we're talking about this all the time. I'm wondering if either or both of you could say something about how you're seeing faculty's experience and understanding of what this remote experience has meant for them and how they're imagining their teaching trajectories moving forward, and the institutional goals more broadly in terms of student modalities for student learning. Do you anticipate that this disruption is going to lead to a very positive copacetic kind of rebalancing, or do you also perceive some tensions and challenges if faculty, for instance, find that while they formerly taught entirely in person, they really now only want to teach remotely or only want to teach 2 days a week in person, but student need is something, I'm just wondering kind of how that's looking like it might play out at your institutions, or if that's even a conversation you're worried about. Thanks.
Well, I'll jump in there. Thank you for that question. Before COVID, Cal State East Bay was about 25% online or hybrid, and the rest was face-to-face. So we were pretty much a face-to-face. And similar to Contra Costa colleges, our students really benefit from that face-to-face kind of high-touch experience, especially in the first couple of years. It's really important. And I believe our faculty come to our university because they align with that mission and they care about student success. So I'm not too worried that we're going to be in a position to have to direct certain student or certain faculty to teach face-to-face. I'm willing to wait a little bit and see how it shakes out. I do know that our students are learning the benefits of some remote delivery, especially to fit it into their busy lives. So I think that proportion won't go back to 25-75. It might be 30-70, 40-60 going into the future.
Yeah.
And then another benefit of this period is, faculty who incorporated very little or no technology at all into their face-to-face courses now have discovered some just wonderful resources that I think will enhance the face-to-face experience. We are hearing glimmers. We have a unionized faculty, and we are hearing some comments about if I'm teaching a high flex model, which is a combination of face-to-face and technology or remote in the same classroom, that's more work and therefore, deserves some kind of recognition. I have heard some anecdotal comments about that. So we'll see how it shakes out in the future. I'm not too worried though. I think it's going to fall into a good pattern naturally.
Yeah, if I could add to that, I agree with everything that Kathy's saying. We're having the same dynamic. What we're really trying to concentrate on is, we were forced into this great experiment. It wasn't planned, but we were forced into this great experiment. What would happen if we offered everything online? And now that we've gone through this for a year, and we'll continue going through it over the summer, so it'll be about a year and a half that we have gone through this experiment. We need to see, what did we learn is more effective online and keep that? And what did we learn that is less effective online and get rid of it? And that's kind of one of the guiding ideas that we're trying to follow here. We know for sure that most of our students need us to be back in a traditional, as President Sandeen said, high-touch environment where they get to know faculty, they get to know each other, they get to know staff, they're feeling like they're in a community. That's going to be very important. But in the past, we've been at about 85% online and about 85% on campus and about 15% online. Or as my wife always says, 85% room, 15% Zoom. And so that's kind of the model we've been in historically. I think we're going to emerge more closely to what President Sandeen has said. Maybe 30% of our programs are going to be offered online. And then we need to think strategically about what those programs are So it's not just saying to faculty, hey, who wants to teach online? And so you end up with 30% of your courses online. If we're going to have that many courses online, we need to make sure that there are programs that people can finish 100% online. This is particularly important for non-traditional students who have jobs, they have spouses, they have partners, they have kids, they have complicated lives. They need to do their homework when the kids are in the bathtub at night, and that's that I wrote most of my dissertation like that. That's how we need to set up an education system that provides that kind of service to people who don't have time to get in the car, go to campus, hang out, but they do have time to squeeze in some education. So I think we're going to come out of this with a new model of what higher ed looks like. We're all excited to see what it'll be. Our counselors, for example, are saying to me they prefer doing counseling in a Zoom environment now. A Zoom environment with a student, that makes sense to me. I've had 2 meetings with my doctor now in a Zoom environment, and I'd never done that. I know other people have, but I'd never done that, and it was very convenient to have a meeting like that. So if meeting with your counselor is a lot easier and counselors can hold more meetings and still have quality conversations, we may have increased our capacity because of this technology.
I'm mindful of time, and Sheila, you raised some really great issues. So thank you both for commenting on those. And I'm glad that we can be a convener to help you as significant higher ed leaders in our community engage on that front, and we're here to help. So I'm going to give the last question to the gentleman with his hand raised, our board chair, Ken Mintz. So Ken, you get the last question, and then we'll wrap it too.
Oh my goodness, so I made more of a comment. So in addition to my role with EBLC, I'm the Vice President of Board of Education for Seminole Valley Unified. And on that last question, just a couple of quick thoughts. One is it's going to be very interesting to see, as we've now had students in both the synchronous, asynchronous learning environments, particularly the high school students, right, and what that might mean for their preparation for more of your online experiences at the college level as well. Usually they wouldn't see, the kind of ways that college courses work, whether they're in a dual enrollment situation, but generally they wouldn't see that type of environment until they get there. We just started our secondary school openings today, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And from a faculty perspective, I just want to share one quick conversation I had with a world language teacher this morning. She has students that are full remote in one section, full in-course starting today in another section, and she has a hybrid where she's going to have kids in the classroom as well as others remote, because it being kind of a singular type of a subject where there aren't a lot of teachers in that area. And so we're already starting to experience those kind of environments that are going to call for flexibility in the future.
Right.
Because while we're pushing to get everyone back on our campus in the fall, as Kathy said earlier, a lot depends. There's a lot of things out there that are going to be driving our decisions for the coming year. But I know from the K-12 experience, we're looking forward to working with both institutions as well as St. Mary's, going forward, because we send a number of our students to all of your campuses. The one other quick thing that I would mention is in terms of declining enrollment that you're seeing. We've been experiencing declining enrollment at the K-12 level for the last several years. And particularly a school district like ours that was seeing 500 to 1,000 increase each year, we're now seeing a drop of 275, 300 a year. This year, 1,400. We expect to see a number of those come back to us as the remote versus online works itself out. However, we're also seeing a growth in the end of the growth in student populations hitting the high schools right now. So I would expect in 2, 3, 4 years, that lack of student growth is going to start hitting your systems as well.
Yeah.
So as you look at your student populations going forward, and I know you both have student populations that are not just coming out of high school, but younger folks as well as older adults. That one segment is changing. Luckily, though, we are seeing a growth in dual enrollments, and I look forward again to working with both your institutions on how we continue to work on those type of things. So,
and you
like I
raise
said,
important issues, Ken, in wrapping up the task force. No, and I would just say partly, with all the change and work from home and the demand for housing, I mean, it just sort of lifts up all the reasons why EVLC is really pushing hard to build more housing and continue to, because people are the core of strong economic activity. And so just know that we're partners for you with enrollment and with all that you're doing, because you play such an important role. So let's all thank everybody. I know the chat is full of some praise, but thank you so much, President Sandeen and Chancellor Reece, and for everyone who attended today. Thank you so much. Please be sure to check out our weekly email newsletter, which will come out tomorrow. That has all of our latest event highlights, including it'll have a link to this recording, which we make sure that we make available for folks who can't make it. So thanks again and take care. Have a great day.